Wildlife assessments are being conducted at Algoa Bay in the Eastern Cape following an oil spill. It was reported that approximately 200 litres of fuel from a receiving vessel was spilled into the sea as a result of overflow during the fuel transfer. Now, SA Marine Fuels has since dispatched a commercial oil spill response service provider to mitigate and contain the spread of the spill. Let's get more on the story now. The Department of Environment, Forestry and Fisheries spokesperson Albi Modise joins me now live in studio. Albi, thank you very much indeed for coming through. Let's talk about the circumstances surrounding this spill. What happened?
Well, Blaine, in the early hours of yesterday, just around 20 to 5, as you correctly pointed out, during the bunkering, where the oil that spilled into the ocean, as a result of the transfer of oil into the Liberian registered vessel, and as a result, about 200 litres of oil spilled into the ocean. We then set up systems. We always have contingency plans in place as part of the Operation Oceans Economy Pakisa. We have been working closely with different entities. We've been working with the South African Foundation for the Conservation of Coastal Birds, working closely with SABC, largely because our responsibility is to make sure that whatever they spill, the 200 litres of oil that has been reported as having spilled into the ocean does not firstly affect the integrity of the ocean, but secondly doesn't threaten in any way any of the species in that particular area.
Has it been contained, this spill?
It's been contained. So the report we got this morning also tells us that the officials are working very hard to ensure that the oil is contained, but also that there is no danger or any threat at all to any of the birds or any of the species that are found in that particular area.
How can you say for certainty that that's the case?
We know that for a fact because there are most of our inspectors and some of the partners that we work with. I mean, in this operation of this nature, we work closely with local authorities. I mean, we as environmental affairs, our responsibility to make sure that as the Constitution says, we need to protect the environment for current and future generations. So we have to make sure that whatever that happens there, it's done in such a way that it doesn't threaten the lives of the mammals in the species area. And SABC is going to come in and to ensure that we work closely with them. Because remember, part of the responsibility is that we need to ensure that we as government, we deploy a vessel that's going to assist in clearing the oil in there.
This is considered a Tier 1 level. What does that mean?
It considered Tier 1 level, meaning that it doesn't in any way threaten the species, but obviously because of the nature of the ocean, you need to ensure that you continue to monitor that, which is why we're saying it's a Tier 1, which did not necessarily require that we as National Department deploy our resources, but we are monitoring the situation as we are mandated by the Constitution of this particular of the Republic to ensure that it doesn't in any way threaten to flow into the coastline.
Right. So there is certainty that this would not reach the coast.
Yes, there is certainty that it will not reach the coast, that it's been contained, that it's been addressed, and that we are happy to say that it doesn't threaten the species in the ocean.
The intervention by national authorities, when will they be called upon?
Look, we are there. We are monitoring, as I indicated. We are going to engage SABC through the Department of Transport specifically, but working with SABC. So tomorrow we will have a conversation with them to ensure that we continue to keep an eye on them, on the area itself. But also, as and when the need arises, the national task team is ready to take in and to move in and ensure that there is no particular threat to the species.
So at this stage, it's just the monitoring from the national authorities. The local authorities are handling the situation.
They're handling the situation, yes.
Talk to us about this, the commercial oil spill response team. How do they go about doing their business? What's the process like?
Look, when an incident like this particular one occurs, we always have service providers on standby to assist with, if there is a spill of this nature, to help control and clear it if possible, but also as and when, if it's, for an example, beyond the Tier 1, if it continues to threaten the marine species there, for an example, penguins and other species that are found in that particular area. Outfits like, for an example, WWF, the South African Foundation for the Conservation of Coastal Birds, are the ones that come in to assist us in retrieving and removing any of those species species that might come under threat from the flowing oil.
Yeah. The wildlife assessments couldn't start yesterday because of weather conditions. So what's the current status of that?
Well, it's going to trigger it today, largely because we would like to ensure that as we continue to monitor the situation, we're not only monitoring, we also have to, when the need arises, step in and assist the authorities.
Yeah. Talking about stepping in, you say that the national authorities will only step in if the situation escalates. What's the worry now? What's the immediate danger?
We would want to ensure, Blaine, that our ocean is not in any way, its integrity is not threatened by this particular spill. That a spill of this particular nature, if and when it happens, it's managed in such a way that firstly it doesn't threaten the integrity of the ocean, but also it doesn't in any way threaten the species that you find in that area. And thus far the report we're getting is that we have been able to manage it, and that's why when we came out yesterday we were saying between 200 and 400 liters of oil. This morning we can guarantee and tell you that it's about 200 liters of oil, and that information comes in because we've been on the ground, we've been able to get that particular information after an assessment was done, but also after the deployment of the monitoring team onto the ocean.
So let's go back to the incident. This transfer of fuel happens on a daily basis from into this vessel. This vessel was from Liberia, you said. What safeguards should have been in place in order to prevent this from happening? What was the failure here?
Look, I think we would need to ready ourselves for firstly, let's say that we need to get a report. I think it's important to get a report. What we know thus far is that the overflow into the ocean could have been as a result of during the bunkering, the amount of oil that was transferred into the other vessel was too much. Hence, it flowed into the ocean. But we always prefer to have a report that can tell us exactly where the challenges could have been in that whole exercise. And I think let's allow that report to give us a sense of what exactly went wrong. Yes.
But you're confident in the response capability of Algoa Bay?
Look, Blaine, we are a marine nation. We are surrounded by oceans, so we have a very healthy relationship with the ocean, and that healthy relationship also stems from the fact that we've been able to, through Operation Pakisa task teams, work together with port authorities like Transnet National Ports Authority, Marine Safety Authority, SAMSA, and also working together with other agencies that are responsible for that. So there's on an ongoing basis, there are patrols, there are exercises that are geared towards ensuring that we are ready should such a situation arise. And when it happened yesterday, South Africa was ready.
Well, let's pick up on that point. So there is enough training for the men and women that do this job in order to be effective when something like this happens. When something like this happens, what's the protocol? What tactics are activated? Well,
you need to make sure that firstly all the affected and involved parties must work together. We have, I mean, in this instance, you have the department's role is to ensure that the integrity of the environment is not in any way compromised, and that's the ocean is part of it, and that's how we come in. We have SAMSA, which is the Maritime Safety Authority, whose responsibility is to ensure that the maritime safety issues are also respected. You have, amongst others, the ocean. That particular area falls within a particular jurisdiction, so you bring on board authorities in that regard. And then I mentioned the South African Federation for the Conservation of Coastal Birds, and they and amongst others WWF, they play a very crucial role because if it could have been a big oil spill, they would have come in to rescue some of the species in that particular area, and hence we on an ongoing basis work together with different entities, government departments, and also other agencies that are responsible but are also have an interest in ensuring that the integrity of our ocean or our seas is not in any way compromised.
Oil spills in South Africa, not a common occurrence.
Not so much of a common occurrence, but we are at all times ready because as I said, we have one of the longest coastlines.
So effectively,
absolutely. So effectively, it means that we have, and we've been moving with the Oceans Economy Program to ensure that we get much more activity into the ocean. And when you do that, inevitably, you are going to increase the chances of something like this happening. And because we know of that particular eventuality, hence we've put systems in place to ensure that as and when it happens, we're ready to contain it, we're ready to ensure that we protect the integrity of the ocean, but at the same time, we're ready to allow for the rescue of any particular threatened species should that arise.
Albi, thank you very much indeed for coming in and breaking this down to us and giving us the latest. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that was the Department of Environment, Forestry and Fisheries spokesperson, Albi Modise there.